Scott Jennings here from CNN, also my colleague of the Salem Radio Network and Podcast Network. So Scott, you're speaking of the Republican Jewish Coalition, and the question I keep thinking about is, we know, if you're an online person at all, it feels like there's all this anti-Israel energy on the right, and I don't know how big the numbers are, though, because I see a president who has pitch-perfect A-plus policy on Israel and the Middle East in general, with no notes, zero, and yet part of his coalition is ostensibly getting increasingly radicalized against Israel. And I'm trying to assess the threat. And what is your take on this?
Well, first of all, I wholeheartedly agree with you that the president has been absolutely perfect on this. He has shown unwavering moral clarity on Israel, on Iran. I mean, on all the complex issues that go on in the Middle East, Trump has been absolutely clear and had the right moral position and the right position for American foreign policy forever. I mean, this is one of those issues where he's never wavered, he's never been wrong. And look what the results are. You know, we took out Iran's nuclear facilities, we freed the hostages, we're on the brink of hopefully peace in the Middle East. It doesn't happen without Trump. Give the man the Nobel Prize. I said that today.
Though I like that they delayed it one more year, because if we can talk about it for one more year, it's like ideal news. Like, they got to do it next year, though. I don't even think they can wiggle out of this.
I know, and boy, when he gets it, A, he'll deserve it, and B, it'll piss off all the right
people. I know.
But I think, you know, I wonder about some of these people sometimes. A, I think some of them are just in it for themselves. They're looking to carve out personal chunks of, you know, they're trying to live on Donald Trump's back. B, I think some of them may not be who they say they are. They say they're conservatives or whatever, but it feels to me like sometimes they've been sent to divide and destroy the conservative movement. And with ridiculous arguments and harebrained conspiracy theories. I mean, everything that's happened in this country since October the 7th, you have these people rushing to insert the latest Jewish conspiracy theory. That's what the left does. That's not what we do. So I'm like you, I don't know how to measure it. I know it exists, and I know it's more online than I think it is out in real America. But I know this, if you believe in the alliance between America and Israel, and you believe in the values systems that we share, you do have a responsibility as a Republican leader to call it out. And I don't really think you should look the other way or fear losing support. I'm not sure you want the support of that kind of person anyway.
I think that makes sense. And I am really curious your take on this, because you're a communications expert and everyone turns to you for communications, I think, wisdom here. And it's one of these things where Israel has not done a great job at communicating a lot of the great stuff they're doing. I think if you poll the average American who is, what's in terms of foreign country, who's America's best intelligence partner? Do you think everyone would say Israel? Because they all should. That's the answer. There is one answer. Like, do you think any Americans know that? I don't know. And this was, I know that you would go to Turning Point USA events towards the end of Charlie's life. I imagine you'll continue to go to those. And I think Charlie was, in general, a pro-Israel person. And there's a lot of conversation online about this. I spoke to him about the issue virtually daily. And the one critique he had that resonated with me, though, was that they don't do a great job selling themselves to us. And what would you recommend to them?
Well, first of all, I think it's okay to criticize in politics as long as you're doing it out of a place of good faith and of love. And I think Charlie was. I mean, it's really possible for two things to be true. You can criticize your friends, but doing so because you want them to be better and you want the relationship to be stronger. And versus what we see on the right now, which is people criticizing out of a place of hate, I think. Two different things. You know, look, I think PR in difficult situations, you know, in retrospect you could always find things you could have done better. I will say this in Israel's defense. They were facing the biggest propaganda campaign in the West and in the Western media that I've ever seen. You had one entire political party in the United States. You had nearly all of the corporate Western media. You had foreign governments from Britain, France, Canada, and others. You even had Joe Biden parroting Hamas talking points in the State of the Union. They faced...
And don't forget that his administration put out a tweet telling Israel to chillax, or whatever it was. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. Right after October 7th. Like, right away, Biden was saying, Israel, you guys chill.
They faced just a massive coordinated propaganda campaign. And as I said in my speech today, I think some of the atrocities that happened on October 7th are still hidden from people in the West. And at the same time, you had New York Times and other corporate media running pictures that were later they had to correct or walk back because they were propaganda staged photos. So you just had this coordinated propaganda effort, which whatever PR they were doing, they faced an onslaught which I'm not sure they predicted.
Yeah.
So I give them a little latitude on this, but at the same time, it is their responsibility. It is every nation's responsibility to explain to their constituents and to their allies, what we're doing, why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Look, I think they were attacked. They have every right to defend themselves, and I'm not really all that patient with people who are out here saying, well, they should do this instead of that, and they want to direct the national security of another nation.
Yeah.
If we were attacked, and you had people coming in here nitpicking our national security, I promise you we wouldn't be paying so much attention to it.
It is interesting that I think about that a lot in the context of October the 7th, where I just feel like we all moved on very quickly from that. And I feel like you should have a pretty wide berth to be able to defend yourself after that and make sure that threat doesn't happen again. And I feel like we just skipped over that sort of basic founding principle here.
And it wasn't like terrorists came over from several thousand miles away and then left.
Door.
They're literally right there.
Yeah, right.
And so not only did they suffer the attack of October the 7th,
the threat is right
they
there.
suffer the threat of it being there, plus you have Iran sitting over here, plus you have Hezbollah, plus you have the Houthis. I mean, they're surrounded by people who literally want to destroy them.
Yeah.
It's not a faraway threat. And so, look, my view on our relationship with Israel is they're our close ally. We share values, we share national security interests, we share a lot of things. But they're a democratic country.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be dictating to them their internal politics. I think in the same way we have Trump derangement syndrome, we have some BB derangement syndrome.
Right, yes.
And I've talked to a lot of people in America who can't even have a clear conversation or a rational conversation about these issues because their hatred for BB. It's the same with Trump.
Yeah, same thing.
It's like, okay, set your emotions aside for a minute and let's talk about the issues. People have a hard time doing that. So we'll see what the Israeli people want to do. It's not our job to tell them what to do. They have the right of self-determination, both in terms of national security and in politics. That's my view.
So you've got an interesting constituency because you spend your daytime speaking to a mostly conservative audience, Salem audience, and then you spend your evening speaking to a mostly liberal audience, CNN audience, plus also a lot of conservatives on Twitter when the things get clipped. Give me a sense of a little bit of a difference in terms of the way you try to message to each group.
Well, I think on the radio show, it's only an hour show, so I don't have a ton of time.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do every day is make sure that the news stories that I think are most important are being highlighted, and then, I'm giving the conservative view. It's I don't know if you remember the old radio broadcaster Paul Harvey. He had a thing.
Of course, yeah.
Paul Harvey, news and comment.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hate to admit it, but I'm just kind of modeling the Paul Harvey model, which is news and comment. And then I like to bring people on for interviews that I think maybe aren't often interviewed or it may be ignored a little bit in the national media, but are strong leaders or have something important to say. So it's really a combination of that. At night, I often find myself, and on the radio, you're just talking to yourself. You're just there. At night, I often find myself debating 4 and 5 people at the same time, and so that's a much different environment. And it's a much different kind of preparation. I don't get to pick the issues. I don't get to determine the framing of the issues, but I am there to, give voice to conservatives and kind of let the audience and my fellow panelists know how half the country sees it. And that's what I am dedicated to doing. But as you know, how I'm able to determine the framing or even what we're talking about during the day, I don't have any control over that at night.
Well, one thing you do very well in the TV show is that you don't yell at anyone. You never let the emotions get the best of you. And I've always thought that's the best way to talk to people who don't agree, is to don't ever get angry or flustered or frustrated with them. But it's very hard to do that. That's my number one thing that I observe that you do very well. But what do you think makes you so uniquely gifted at that particular environment?
Well, I think preparation is the key. You have to show up prepared to talk about a lot of different things, and you're going to be debating 4 or 5 people at the same time. And so I spend all day long, frankly, in prep for it. That's number one. Number two, I agree with you. I think doing it in good humor and in good faith. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. And look, I'm not perfect. There have been times when I've gotten fairly angry at something that someone has said, but you try to minimize that. I think as conservatives, we do best. We argue facts. We argue logic. We know what people have said, and we're able to parrot that back to them. Some of my most memorable moments is simply repeating back to the liberals what they themselves said or what their own side has said. They get angry when you do that. But you have to do it with a smile on your face. I firmly believe that. This is the Reagan model. We're gonna be good humor, good faith, firm. You don't have to give up on your beliefs to do that way. But I think the left often shows us a real face of anger. I mean, look at what they're saying. Some of the things they're saying right now in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder.
Unbelievable.
Some of the ways they make their political arguments. There's this crazy liberal blogger, YouTuber out there. I see her on my feed all the time now, and she's out saying awful things, and she's got a huge audience on the left. I just think more Americans are going to be attracted to people who can smile and be of good humor and good faith, and people who are in perpetual anger and rage.
But you added the extra piece, which is prep, and this is what I've got to talk a lot about Charlie, because we were so close over the last month and a half, and it'll be something I'll be doing the rest of my life. But one of the underrated things I've been sharing with people is that his prep was meticulous. He was constantly, and when South Park was trying to make fun of him for honing his arguments, no, that was how he got so good, was that he was obsessively honing his arguments down to a point. And so it's actually a comfort to hear that you are doing a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I take the job seriously. I think if you're given the responsibility to speak in front of hundreds of thousands or millions of people about the political affairs of the United States, it's a high responsibility.
That's exactly the right attitude.
And you have to be prepped for it. I want to represent my value system as best I can, but also it's good TV. If people show up prepped and ready, the debates are good.
Yeah. And there's less downtime. There's less wasted time. Like when the arguments are crisp, it's courteous.
You get people meandering around, and look, I think if you watch any cable, you can tell the people who show up prepped and the people who don't.
Yeah.
And honestly, the best liberal debaters, people like David Axelrod and Van Jones, they show up prepped.
Sure.
They've thought through their arguments. They make great debaters, but it makes for great content. I go all over and I hear two things. I love you and I love the debates, or I don't agree with you, but I love the debates.
Yes.
People love the debates, but debates between people who are prepared and who are doing it in good faith, that's the sweet spot, I think, for cable content. And when we hit that spot, it's really good for the network.
So your day-to-day life, though, so where does the CNN show tape?
Abby Phillip is in New York at night.
And how many nights a week do you have to be in New York?
Well, it depends. I've had a robust speaking schedule lately, but I'm there 2 to 4 nights a week usually.
And where's your family?
In Kentucky. Yep. And then I also dip down to Washington. I'll do the Casey Hunt show at 4 o'clock sometimes. I'll do the Caitlin Collins show at 9 o'clock. That's also in D.C. I'll do the Sunday morning State of the Union sometimes. That's also in D.C. So we have studios in both places, and so I tend to bounce back and forth.
Is this a busy schedule for you, or has your life been like this a lot?
It's gotten a lot busier in the last couple of years. The presidential campaign, and then the aftermath of that. I've got the speaking tour that's going on. I go to a lot of colleges, and I've got a book coming out in November.
Yes. And you'll come back and we'll talk about that one.
I'm starting to do a few events on that. So, a combination of all those things has kept me on the road a lot, and so I'm missing home somewhat, but I think it's for a good cause.
Yeah. How is your family doing? Are they able to meet you on the road sometimes?
They are. In fact, I brought them to Las Vegas.
Good.
I got 3 of my 4 kids here.
Wow.
And the 4th couldn't make it because he's doing a special project this semester, and he's off living elsewhere. But I got my 3 little ones with me, and we're going to go to the Sphere and see the Wizard of Oz and do some things as a family. I haven't had a ton of time to spend with them at home because Dad's been traveling, so I'm trying to make up for it.
Well, it's good. Well, we all appreciate it a lot, and I think you're giving a lot of people a lot of pointers on how to debate people and their families, which is really, really meaningful, because I think that's really where political change takes place. It's like around dinner tables and at holidays and stuff, and learning how to message properly to people who don't agree with you it's not the same as trying to get as many retweets as you can on Twitter.
Yeah, being a good debater and making lasting arguments. I think one of the things about the debates is that you don't just want a short-term political satisfaction. You want something that's lasting. Like, you want to make the point that everybody watching is like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, or oh, he is right.
Right.
And the way to do that is to have facts and logic. I mean, often, you know this as a conservative, we're debating people who are operating on emotion, on anecdotes, and often based on things that they saw online that actually aren't even true.
That's right.
They haven't really read the real news. They're in the blue anon, bubble.
Right,
so how do you defeat that?
Yeah.
Remain calm, keep smiling, be in control of the facts and the actual situation. You can defeat it every time. And I think you and I agree on this. Our values and our ideas are such that in an honest debate, we're not going to lose very often.
No, not if we got the facts internalized. And
absolutely.
And you got to hone it a little bit, though.
You got to practice.
I don't want to burn you out anymore. Thank you for doing this. What's the book again?
It's called A Revolution of Common Sense.
Okay.
How Donald Trump.
Just a few weeks away, right?
November the 18th.
Okay, very good.
Order it now. Have it for Thanksgiving.
Great.
Or put it under the Christmas tree.
Great. And then when you're doing the book tour, you can come back and we sell some more books.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks,
you, my
Alex.
friend. Nice to see you.
Thank you.